Hi everyone, how are you? I gotta turn some music on. Just for some ambience or some shit. Okay, let me just so how are you guys doing? You guys good? I hope you're good. Hope everyone's doing wonderfully. Hope you're having a beautiful and successful day. Yeah, so okay. Alright, so since my video yesterday and since I was scanned and everything yesterday, once again, the perps are falling back on trying to be weaponized irritants. I'm sorry, because they think I'm sorry. They think that annoying me is anywhere near on the same level as me being proven right about literal global human trafficking. Baby, it is not on the same level. And I'm sorry, it is not on the same level at all. And do you remember? I don't know if you guys remember, but because I used to think outside my mind a lot, and I used to talk out loud a lot, sometimes it would go on for hours, right? Maladaptive daydreaming. So I used to do that for hours, and I used to do that out loud, right? And these people here have either been trying to trigger that, or somebody else has been trying to trigger that through the weaponry and through V2K. So they've been trying to elicit that response. And because of that, it was actually very easy to call me mad or to call me crazy. It was actually very easy to do that like a few years back. And because, because the thing is about perps, right, is that you spend so long being focused on the names that they call you and the way that they treat you, you kind of don't see the logic behind it, and you don't see why people use the words mad and crazy or what have you. You don't see the reason why people use those words. And for me, when gang stalking is taken out of the equation, when somebody like me, who I used to be, if you were to meet somebody like that, you would be scared because you wouldn't know what to expect, right? And you don't understand their behavior because you've never been exposed to it. So it made sense, even from the gang stalking perspective, as to why somebody would have called me mad or crazy back then, even though, to be quite honest with you, I was a lot more reasonable up here. I might not have behaved it like in my daily life, but I was actually a lot more reasonable and had a lot more common sense up here than a lot of the people around me. And the reason why I acted irrationally is because I was gaslit emotionally, gaslit, intimidated into not trusting myself. And if I didn't trust myself, then if my mind was to tell me something, I'd be like, no, I'm not listening to you. So it led to a lot of irrational behavior on my part. So the words mad and crazy, and I know it's been used to slur mentally ill people. I know it has been used in that context. But now that I am emotionally detached from those words in a lot of ways, and having gone through the perpetration that I've been subjected to, now I've been thinking in my mind, these perps are fucking mad. They're fucking crazy. And for me, it's not even about mental illness, because the thing is, I've been around a lot of people who are mentally ill. And what I've actually found is that they're actually less mad, ironically, than the people who call them mad. And I'm not just saying that. I've talked a lot of shit about the people that I lived with in that supported housing in Willesden. But the truth of the matter is that a lot of them have lots of common sense up here. Cognitively, they have a lot of common sense. And they do irrational things. But when you look at their reasoning, when you look at what's going on beneath the surface, there is a lot of common sense behind what they do. So for me, it's like, do you know what I mean? For me, mentally ill isn't mad. For me, mad is choosing to engage in human trafficking and genocide for coupons when you don't know what the fuck's going on. Mad is you agreeing to terrorize somebody for no real reason that you can see. The reason is lost on you. Mad is spreading rumors about people just for the sake of doing it. Mad is going on about the same vile and minuscule shit for 2 years, like I explained on Facebook to another TI. Mad is when you try to paint everything that everybody else does as mad when you yourself engage in the most irrational behavior known to man. Mad is when your friendships and your family life and even the sex that you have is revolved almost entirely around your own destruction and the destruction of other human beings, because they all, basically, all your friendships, your family, the people you fuck, all of them facilitate in the gang stalking, which facilitates in defense weaponry, the prison industrial complex, the psychiatric industrial complex. All of those complexes are being reinforced by gang stalking, which leads to war, which leads to genocide, which leads to millions of people being killed. So all of your friendships, everything that you know, every person that you know, every relationship that you have ever formed needed the fucking destruction of humanity to do it. That's fucking mad. Okay? Mad is not being mentally ill. Mad is not having a split brain or ADHD or autism or, you know, or none of that shit. Madness is literally being a destructive force in the world and acting like you're the hero. Like I said before, all of your relationships are built on the back of the destruction of humanity, and it started with you punching down. That's mad. You couldn't pay me. If you wanted me to fucking like brutalize somebody or what, like you couldn't fucking pay me. You really couldn't. You couldn't pay me to dislike somebody else and go on the same shit for 2 fucking years. You couldn't pay me to do that shit. But then again, that's what happens. When you're marginalized, you have an abundance of truth. Truth is abundant like water when you're marginalized. When you have privilege, when you have the privilege to behave like an animal towards other people and then animalize them. When you're a perp, which is one of the forms of privilege, you have irritation and anger and violence as your unlimited resource. And when it gets to that level, of course, when you tell the truth as a TI, that's going to be met with perps being their usual pathetic and annoying selves. Madness, the whole thing. You agreed to terrorize somebody for no discernible reason. Or for some people are making the excuse that, oh, I'm doing it because people are committing benefit fraud. Oh, I'm doing it because... No. If benefit fraud needed to be investigated, or, serious crimes needed to be investigated, why would they need some dickhead off the street? And why so many of you? There are so many people who are intelligent, who are qualified, who can do the job without raising suspicion, without making themselves known. There are so many people who can do that. They don't need some dickhead off the street. They really don't. It's madness not to realize how cheaply you're bought. That's mad. And how easily you're lied to. That's mad. It's weird. Like, again, I used to feel so isolated. I used to feel so lonely. Because it just seemed like I didn't have any help from anybody. But then I realized the people who united against me, and many of the people who unite against TIs as a whole, they unite with each other at the expense of millions of people's lives. Not worth it. Not worth it. But it takes a sane person to see that. Your friendships, your unions with family, the people you fuck, like I said before, they contribute to the military, psychiatric, and prison industrial complexes through unlawful experimentation into weaponry and through using punitive psychiatry as a way to cover up for various trafficking rings going on through networks leading all the way beyond government. You played a part in that. Or every union that you've ever had in your life has been weaponized and used to fund the destruction of humanity and to fund the destruction of humanity's soul. That is mad. Felt like Bethany Frankel, I swear to God. You're crazy! You're crazy! I felt like Bethany Frankel. You're crazy, go to sleep. Who the fuck goes on about Allah for 2 years? Who the fuck goes on about somebody's race for 2 years? Who the fuck goes on about anything minuscule for 2 fucking years almost? Who does that shit? And again, every single friendship you have ever made, every single union you have ever made, it wasn't even for anybody's good. Like every single happy moment you've ever had has led to humanity's downfall. That's your legacy. That is your legacy. And suddenly I'm looking at so many people in such a different light. Your happiness and the joy and the contentment that you get out of treating people like that has led to millions of people being killed already, and it's only going to get worse. Like I said, I explained in the astrology, it's the burden of people like myself to be interpreted as the villains when really we're the ones protecting everything. But hey, I mean, shit. But anyway, I gotta go. I have a daily reading to do today. I don't think it's a daily reading. It's a new moon reading in Ashvini. I'm going to be doing that on my Empress Justice Tarot Instagram. And yeah, I just needed that to get that out of my system. Now I understand why the words mad and crazy are used, but no, that's not mental illness. It's not mental illness. It's just pure irrational behavior and using irritation as a weapon when the truth doesn't bend to your will. And it's for the same reason why smart people, truth, are really hard to argue with, but dumb people, irritation, are absolutely impossible, because at some point they're just gonna press on your nerves so much that any semblance of like appealing to reason, or trying to like any semblance of that appealing to reason or trying to make something better, or all of that goes out the window, because you are just so taken with how much dumb and or privileged people, and perps in particular, love to use irritation to get a rise out of you. It just shuts down any intelligent conversation. It shuts down any hope of elevating people beyond their immediate understanding. And at worst, it causes the destruction of humanity and the dumbing down of humanity. And millions of people being killed for that precise purpose. Dumb is impossible to argue with. It's also dangerous. mad is impossible to argue with and dangerous. But guess what isn't? Mental illness. Because with mentally ill people are more likely to be, more likely to be discriminated against and suffer from violent crimes, be the victim of violent crimes, than people who are so-called not diagnosed with any mental illness. Why would that happen if mentally ill people were the ones who are mad? So every time I hear the words mad and crazy, instead of feeling the pain of how I was isolated and how I was, all that, now I'm just reminded of how that isolation and that harassment and that bullying essentially played a part in not only human trafficking, vice trafficking and arms trafficking and drug trafficking. Not only am I reminded of how those slurs aimed at me led towards all of that, I'm reminded of how the joy at my pain has led to the downfall of humanity as we know it and has already killed millions of people. Like I said, madness. In the words of Tywin Lannister, madness and stupidity. So, I gotta go. I hope I made sense in that rant. I repeated myself quite a lot of times, but then I always repeat myself, so. Anyway, I gotta go. My fellow TIs, stay strong, stay blessed. I love you all so much. And yeah, take care. We'll talk soon. Peace and blessings. Bye-bye.